money, motherfucker? Money be green. Money feel like money. That shit look green.
Well, let's move on to the next fight. And this is a top ranked card. We're going to be talking about 2 fights on this card. Let's start off with the main event because I know Bryan's like super stoked for this one. I'm talking about Janibek.
Scoffing at the fights this week, Shantelle.
Janibek Alimkhanuly. He's a minus 3,000 on the money line. And then you got my fellow Canadian Steven Butler at plus 1,360. Bryan, how are you betting this one?
Minus 3,000. You know, it was minus 6,000, I believe, when this opened. Because I remember we were talking about this before. I'm like, you know how much money you need to have to make a profit to bet on stupid money line for this?
Even on this one, though, like it's ridiculous. Unless you're rolling with Steven Butler.
Well, are you doing that because you're Canadian?
Hey, just because that's his nationality doesn't mean I make bets that are dumb. I'm not trying to lose money. Shout out to Steven Butler, though, for taking this fight.
Listen, all you need to know is that 3,000, right? Minus 3,000. If you put $1,000 on this fight, you're making $33. So don't even bother. With the money line. Janibek is interesting because he was a minus 2,500 favorite against Denzel Bentley. And the over-under in rounds was 4.5. That went way over because it was a decision and a fight that people expected Denzel Bentley to be out of there quickly.
Yeah.
Janibek ended up winning a tough decision. Like Denzel Bentley won, according to multiple judges and myself, 4 rounds in that fight, 116, 112. A lot of people thought it was fairly close, but that Janibek did enough, and he really turned it on late in that fight in particular, right? Bentley was a plus 100 underdog, and it was plus 500 to go to the cards that fight. Janibek was minus 500 by knockout. All of these numbers are similar to what we're seeing in this fight, right? And I believe this is actually a step down in competition. I don't think Steven Butler is as good as Denzel Bentley, who just defended the British middleweight title that he's won a couple of times successfully in the first round knockout last month, and a great knockout. You guys should look that up. Steven Butler is gonna bang. He's 32-3-1 with 26 knockouts, all losses by knockout, all 3 of them. Yeah. Right. So this is tailor-made for Janibek to do what people thought he should have done against Denzel Bentley. The stoppages to Brandon Cook, round 7, January 2019. Ryota Murata, TKO round 5, December of 2019. Or January 2017 was the other one. December 2019. And then this was against a journeyman from Mexico.
Yeah, Jose De Jesus, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Jose De Jesus, TKO round 5, January 2021. And then Steven Butler beats Josh Conley by a decision where he looked fine. And then that was December of 2022. And Janibek is minus 480 to win by knockout on FanDuel. Weirdly enough, minus 650 to win by knockout on DraftKings. But I think the bets to go here are Janibek to win by knockout between rounds 1 and 6, minus 150. I think that's sort of where you look, because this is one that he should clear out early. And if he doesn't, then people are gonna have like even more questions. It's like, you didn't put away Denzel Bentley, you didn't put away Steven Butler, and these are fights that, you know, with guys that you should be putting away. I think Denzel Bentley should have gotten more credit going into that fight. In Janibek's defense, I think he was better than odds makers were sort of laying it out. But this is the one that I think Janibek should finish early.
Yeah, and, going back to that Denzel Bentley fight, that was a fight where everyone was kind of like, hey, man, he's definitely going to get the knockout here. Like, that was a fight where I think a lot of people were thinking that Bentley was a massive underdog, and a lot of people didn't have him winning that fight. And in that fight, you saw Janibek kind of struggle. And you were like, whoa, wait a minute. I thought you were supposed to come in here, lay some powerful shots, load up on them, land that nasty 1-2 that you have, because Janibek is clearly accurate. He has power in his punches. Even his jab has power on it. Nasty left hook. He likes to throw the uppercut as well, and that uppercut can knock you out cold. Mm-hmm. And in that fight, he kind of started off a little bit slow, and Denzel Bentley had his way with him really early on, that at one point I was nervous for Janibek. I was like, is this going to be an upset?
Me too.
Because that's not what we expected when the matchmakers made that fight. We thought that Janibek, I actually thought that Denzel Bentley was going to overcommit and that Janibek would knock him out. That's not what happened in that fight. This one ended up going the distance. And the thing about it was a really tough fight for Janibek. And maybe that's why they have him in the ring against a guy like Steven Butler, who is going to give his all. He's been knocked out before, and you saw Bryan talk about those knockouts. But I mean, he's been in the ring with Ryota Murata. And despite the fact of how you want to look at Murata, he is seen as a god in Japan. Like, you know, he is very, very well known there. And, you know, he is a guy that does have cachet to his name. So I think he has had experience being in the ring with some guys, but getting knocked out right after by Jose De Jesus, I mean, not a good look, right? Getting knocked out twice in a row. But he is now on a 4-fight win streak. And the thing about him is he's going to be aggressive early on. You know, he likes to load up on shots a little bit. He likes to throw some nice combos. But I think for him, for Steven Butler, the one thing that he can't do is what I thought Denzel Bentley would do, and that's overcommit. You can't overcommit against a guy like Janibek because he's going to make you pay. And once he gets into a rhythm, that's when it starts to get scary. I think that fight against Denzel Bentley, I think for him, the thing about that fight was he didn't get into a rhythm right away. Like, Bentley took him out of his rhythm, and that kind of, you know, messed him up. But then later on in the fight, he dominated that fight. So I think early on, I think he's going to want to get off to a good start using that jab. And when he lands that jab, you're going to be able to hear that power as well. But Steven Butler, he's tough. You know, we talk about toughness, and I don't think he's going to just go away easily. But if Janibek hits him in the right spot, which I think he will, with that uppercut, I think it's night for a guy like Steven Butler, unfortunately, because he's Canadian. So, you know, I gotta show some love for him a little bit. But I have actually Janibek winning rounds 5 through 8, and there's some value there at plus 175. So that's how I'm going with this fight.
I also think it's worth it to maybe take a shot at that, but also between rounds 4 and 6. Where it's about plus 200 right now, might have dropped to plus 190 as of this morning. But I think that's going to be somewhere where you can get value on, being that Butler's been knocked out multiple times in the 5th round. So I think that ultimately Janibek gets it done. And yeah, we just